Now that we understand what Django signals are and why they exist, it's time to stop talking about theory and actually build one. In this section, we will create a brand new Django project from scratch and implement our very first signal using Django's built-in post-save signal. Our goal is very simple. Whenever a new user is created, Django should automatically create a profile from that user. The important thing here is that we are not going to manually call a function like create profile. Instead, we are going to let Django detect that a new user has been saved and automatically perform the action for us. By the end of this section, you will understand how to create signals, how post save works, what the sender parameter means, what instance is, what the created variable does, why apps.py is required, and how Django knows our signal exists. So let's jump into VS Code and start building. Here I've just initiated a Python project and added the Django here. Now I'm gonna create one project. Inside the project, we are creating a new application called accounts. We will keep everything related to users and profile inside this app. First I'm gonna register this app. Now if I open my app structure, as you can see, there is no signals.py. We will create that ourselves. Now let's create a model here. So first I'll go for the model. So here, instead of creating our own user model, we will use the Django's built-in user model. This is much more realistic because almost every Django application starts with user authentication. Now I'm going to create a model called profile. And here I'm going to use the two fields called user bio and one called created at. So here I've written models dot one-to-one field. So a profile belongs to exactly one user and every user has exactly one profile. This creates a one-to-one relationship. So here it will create user one user per one profile, not like one user can have many profiles. Next here I have added on delete models dot cascade. This means if a user is deleted, delete the profiles too. No, so that no orphan records remain. Next bio is just an example field. Since it's gonna be blank as soon as a user is created, so I'm giving it as blank. And next is created. Let me go for created at. No sense. It will automatically stores when the profile was created. Now I'm gonna run the migration command. So now Django has converted our Python model into SQL and created the database table for us. Now I'm going to register this profile in the Django admin panel. For that one, I will go for the admin. And here, this allows us to see the profiles inside the Django admin. Now let me create a super user so I can access the Django admin page. Here for everything I'm using UV. You can use the pip also. Okay, the import is a mistake here. Now let me run the project. Now let me go for the admin panel and login. As you can see, profile is registered here and there is 0 profiles and users are there, which is created by the superuser command. As you can see, users are there, but creating a user automatically does not create a profile yet. Now let's create our first signal. So for that one, Django doesn't create a file called signals.py automatically, but we have to create it ourselves. Now in the accounts, I have to create a file called signals.py file. Django doesn't create this file automatically since it's simply a convention. Whenever we want to use signals, we will usually create them inside the signals.py. Now let me import something and I will explain what each and everything is done. So first is import the signal. So first is post save. In the before video, I have explained about a doorbell example. Whenever a module is successfully saved, Django rings the doorbell and that doorbell is called post save, meaning object saved and post save, and everyone listens gets a notification. Everyone listening to that post save is will get a notified. And receiver, this is a decorator. Its only job is telling Django this function wants to listen for a signal. Without this decorator, your function is just another function. Django ignores it. So here we have imported the user. We are saying whenever user changes, we want to do something, and profile, we will create it automatically. Now our first signal. So this is the most important part of today's video. So let's understand every line. First is this receiver decorator. Now how this receiver works is, receiver will first listens the post save, and after saving it will send the users. Only when the user is saved, this will trigger. Not a profile is created, not when product is created, or not an employee, only user. Whenever a user is created, then only this will listen. So whenever a user is saved, it will fire a signal, but when a product is saved, it will do nothing. Next is create profile function. This name doesn't matter. You can call it hello also, it will work, but for name convenience and remembering the things, make it easy, we will give it as create profile. The decorator is what is matters. Next is sender. So sender tells us who fired the signal. Here it will always be user, since we have already specified sender is equal to user. Instance, this is one of the extremely important. Instance means the object that was just saved. Example, if someone creates a user with username Amruth, instance becomes user is equals to Amruth. So instance.username will always be Amruth. Now if instance.email returns always the user's email. Think of instance as the newly saved row. Now this is where many beginners get confused. Let's say something is created, the signal will be called and it will become true. Now if some user is create, instead of creating, we will edit some user's name or email ID, it will not become true. Here we are using created. Here what does this means? Suppose a user is created, this will become true. Let's say if a user, let's say I changed the username to something else, then it will become false and it will not call this at all, because we didn't create a new user, we only updated one. That's why we write created if created condition. Otherwise every update would create another profile. Let's say I updated a name, it will create a new profile. I will update a email ID, it will create a new profile. I will update a password, it will create a new profile. So imagine changing your email, suddenly another profile, change password, another profile, update first name, another profile. That would be a disaster. Finally, we are creating a profile. Remember the instance we talked about, it is the user. We are simply creating a profile that is connected to the user. That's it. No duplicate code, no manual functions, everything happens automatically. Now if I save this and I will just stop the server and start it again just in case. Now I will go for the Django users and I will create a new user here. For now, I will just disable the password. See, now I've created a new user, but there is no profiles here. So nothing happened. See, many beginners stop here. They think Signal don't work. Actually, Django doesn't even know this file exists. Python only runs files that are imported. Right now, nothing imports signals.py. So Django never executes this file. So for it to work, we need to import that inside the apps.py. Here, we need to import that. So here we want to import the accounts.signal here. So here ready means run only once. When Django starts inside the ready, we import the signals. The moment Python imports this file, our decorator executes. The signal gets registered. Now Django knows whenever a user is saved and runs the create profile. Now if I go for the visualization of the thing means, so here what that means, Django starts, it will run ready and it will import the signals.py and register the receiver and done. So now for testing, let me rerun the project again. Now if I go here and go for the users, let me create a new user. Now if I go, as you can see, profile exists now. Notice something, we never wrote create profile. We never called the function ourselves. The only thing we did was create a user. Everything else happened automatically. This is the power of Django signals. Now let me create a new super user called admin1 and password I will give something. Now if I refresh the project, okay, I stopped running it. See, as you can see, I didn't specify it in the management command also. I didn't specify anywhere, but it's working. Wherever I create a new user, it's gonna create one profile for me automatically now. So how does this works means, first in admin panel, a user is created, user.save is called, and it goes for the database, and post save is called, and receiver is called, and it will create the create profile, and profile is saved. How it works means, say whenever a user is saved, Django announces, hey everyone, a user was just saved. Our receiver is listening here. So it reacts, creates the profile, and done. Now here a common beginner mistake is forgetting the apps.py file. That is what we did at the last. We have to import this. Without this, the Django will not know if the signal exists or not. Next is forgetting the sender. Sender also we need to pass it here. We have to send something to the sender. Next is forgetting if created. This is one of the things. And creating another user inside the signal, causing recursion and putting too much business logics inside the signal. And best practices are always keep the signal small. One responsibility, use them for side effects. Name receivers clearly, always register them. As I said, we can name it as something, hello, ABC, 123, anything you can name it, but it will work. But it will be confusing as you go, as your project builds into a bigger project. So today we built our very first Django signal. We learned what the post save signal is, how it detects when a model has been saved, and how Django automatically executes our receiver without us ever calling the function manually. We also explored what the sender, instance, and create parameters actually mean, why the ready method inside apps.py is essential, and how the entire flow works behind the scenes. At this point, you should have a solid understanding of the most commonly used signals in Django and be comfortable using it in your own projects. In the next session, we are going to look at another extremely useful signal called pre-save. Unlike post-save, which runs after an object is stored in the database, Pre-saves gives us a chance to modify data before it is saved. We'll use it to automatically format data and explore how it can help enforce consistency across your application. So let's continue and see how pre-save works.